Hello and welcome to this segment of Let's Talk Oregon, where I'm going to sit down and speak with Lauren Striegl, who works for our Village of Oregon Streets Department, and we are going to talk about all things construction, right? Lauren is an integral part of the Village of Oregon, and she's here to kind of give us some updates, an idea of what's going on with these roads in town that are closed and when we can expect them to be opened, etc. So Lauren, first, welcome to the show. This is not your first time. I think it's the second visit here on Let's Talk Oregon. Last time we talked about construction as well, but that's a constant in life. It's never going to go away. So here we are again a few years later. So off the top of your head, how many different projects in terms of our streets and construction are happening right now in the Village of Oregon?
So for street projects, we have had 3 projects this year. One of them was relatively small. It was the intersection of Park Street and Waterman Street over by the Senior Center. And that one has fortunately finished up for us. Good. We have 2 major ones ongoing, very visible ones. That would be the intersection of Alpine Parkway and County Highway CC or Jefferson Street, depending on where you are, as well as all of East Lincoln Street between North Main Street and North Perry Parkway.
Yeah, good. High school corridor there for sure for a lot of folks. So, you know, our viewers are no stranger to life in Wisconsin. We have winter and we have construction. It's our basically 2 major seasons. So obviously as the village grows, so does the use of our streets. So as we first focus on the project here that we just talked about on Lincoln Street and that closure, can you describe to our viewers what is specifically happening in that project, what drives those needs for the kind of changes, and what do we hope are the advantages of those changes once they're done?
Sure. So East Lincoln Street is what we call a street reconstruction with full utility replacement. So in layman's terms, we're replacing all of the above ground street features that you would see. The roadway will be replaced, the concrete curb and gutter, and the sidewalk will all be replaced. There will be all new sidewalk ramps that will meet ADA standards of today. In addition, below the ground where we can't see it, we are replacing all the sanitary sewer, all of the water main, and we're improving the somewhat, today, tiny storm sewer system that sits beneath that road. And this is a really special project for us. East Lincoln Street and all of this kind of high school and North Main Street bounded area is one of our oldest in town. And it's got very old infrastructure in the ground. The water main, as far as we can tell, dates back to the 1930s or 40s. Wow. And water main, that old, is liable to break. Sure is, yeah. And so by getting in this new water main, we're trying to get residents utility infrastructure that they can rely on so that they don't have to experience water main breaks, so that they don't have to worry about their sanitary sewer laterals collapsing. Lastly, the drainage in this area is not great at this point, and this is going to hopefully really capture a lot of that water that currently sits underground, gets into sump pumps, and take it away from the houses. So we're hoping that by putting in this additional drainage infrastructure, we'll also really dry things up for these residents and in that way benefit the neighborhood.
Well, that's super important. I can imagine those residents are ready for that and are willing to sit with the mess as it goes on. For that sounds like a really great improvement, also in a really important corridor in mornings and afternoons, as we do have 2 schools right off those streets, and it's glad to hear that we'll have safe sidewalks and ramps for kids who need them to get to school. So let's turn our attention now to probably the more visible one to a lot of folks, because there are not maybe many people that go by Lincoln Street every day, but a lot of folks use that CC County Highway or Jefferson to get out of town, especially if you're heading to the Costco, because I know that's where a lot of folks go. But in this specific project, is this solely a Village of Oregon project, or is this a partnership with the county, because CC is a county highway? So can you explain how these kind of projects, county and village, come together? Am I correct in reading that?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And that's a great question. So yes, County CC is currently a county-owned highway from Ash Street all the way out to our western village limits. And this project came about in what we call the early stages of a jurisdictional transfer process. So the The Village of Oregon has a lot of streets, including North Main Street and Janesville Street, that used to be county highways. And Dane County has developed a process of working with municipalities to fix up these old county highways and then give them to the municipalities that they are in so that we start to take over maintenance of them. We do have a plan to do that for County Highway CC, but a couple of years ago, we spoke with the county and said, we're getting a lot of complaints about that intersection in particular. We're very concerned about that intersection. So knowing that the county CC project is well off, would you guys be open to pitching in on this reconstruction project just at the intersection, and we will cover the cost of the signalization and lights, but this is really important to the safety of the community. And Dane County has been a fantastic partner in this.
Great.
They agreed, and they're working with us super closely on this project.
So it's good to know that it was a partnership so that not all the funding is straight from the village for this. So if people are wondering how do we afford these projects, this one in particular has additional funding that's not always coming just from the taxpayers of the Village of Oregon. So that's fantastic. So as you just mentioned, there's going to be a stoplight added there. And I think if you live in Oregon, you are for sure roundabout proficient. Now, as we know, those are our gateways to Highway 14. So why was a stoplight chosen at that particular intersection instead of the traditional roundabouts that we've kind of gotten to know pretty well in this community, I should say. Yeah.
So a roundabout was looked at. We looked at a couple different forms of traffic control, and a stoplight was chosen largely for a couple of reasons. So the first is space and area. A roundabout takes a lot of room, as we're finding as we go through design for the County project for next year, which I'll touch on maybe a little bit later in the program. You do need to take a lot of space for that. And in particular, the post office is quite up near that right-of-way. Sure, and we didn't want to negatively impact them. They have a lovely new facility. They're great neighbors. And so a stoplight really fit better within the geometry of what we had out there. The second is that, quite frankly, residents tend to have a level of comfort with stoplights that some don't have with roundabouts. And as everybody knows, the library is just to the north of this area. We have the lovely Keller Alpine bike path. And so this is a very frequented intersection, especially for kids and cyclists and pedestrians. Sure. So we wanted to make sure that whatever we put in there was something that people would be really comfortable using from day one.
That makes sense. And as I think of that pedestrian and bike traffic to get to those trails, it would be hard for pedestrians to navigate crossing a roundabout for sure. So, and I'm sure that your department is no stranger to complaints about the inconveniences that construction projects cause, and I'm sure there are people that aren't happy about the detours that might go through residential neighborhoods. So it's a necessary fix for a temporary problem, right? So how can village residents better inform themselves about these current projects and potential projects moving forward so maybe they don't feel so caught off guard about something? Or what do you suggest?
Sure. Well, this is a great place to plug our website. That's www.oregonwi.gov. Every time we do one of these projects, we do put together a project website that can be found under our Public Works Department subpage. And we do try to post all of the construction updates that we get on a regular basis. So that is a fantastic way, if you're interested in a particular project, to stay on top of exactly what the latest is on that project at any one time. I would also recommend to residents that if they're interested in more than just that and just general village going-ons, as I would argue they should be, we have a wonderful e-notify service on our website where they can sign up and they'll automatically get notifications every time something comes up that they indicate they're interested in. We also have a Facebook page that our internal clerks department team keeps up to date, and they generally repost things that that we ask them to and really try to elevate. So that's another great option if you do prefer Facebook to stay on top of things. It's just follow us there.
Good, and I'm sure that's a wealth of resources and knowledge that people can take advantage of to kind of find out the deals on what's happening in the village. So as we kind of close out our conversations today, I know you kind of foreshadowed maybe an upcoming project in 2027. What are some other kind of down the road things that the village has its eye on, or any things that's specifically planned for the next year or two that we should make people aware of?
Sure. So yeah, the big one, the elephant in the room, is going to be what we call the County or Wolf Street project. And that is a full reconstruction of Wolf Street between Janesville Street at the north and Clubhouse Drive to the south.
Okay.
So that'll include the reconstruction of the intersection at Pleasant Oak Drive and Wolf Street, which, as you know, is very heavily trafficked, and trafficked in a very particular way due to the bus traffic and the parental traffic early in the morning and then in the afternoon. So we are installing a roundabout there.
Okay.
It's going to be pretty exciting because it's our first really pedestrian-focused roundabout that we have here in the village. So it's intentionally designed to be traversable by larger vehicles like buses, but it's planned for pedestrians. So hopefully a safer option for kids to be getting across the street, traveling by foot or by bicycle and getting to school.
Well, that's exciting. And what kind of features does a kind of a pedestrian-focused roundabout have versus like the ones we see? You know, obviously that very few pedestrians are trying to cross before we get onto Highway 15 north or south of town. So what kind of features would that maybe offer?
Sure. So one thing is that it is a little smaller and it is designed with better visibility in mind. So sometimes it's kind of hard to see around those big ones. So it is designed to be visible throughout. Another really exciting feature, especially for me as a parent, is that we do have it comes with islands in the middle of each crossing area. So pedestrians only have to cross one lane of traffic at a time. And they're crossing when cars are already slow because they're coming through the roundabout. So it really helps kids and adults to not have to look both directions and calculate in their heads who's coming from both ways. They can get across one, take a breath, and then get across the second safely.
Yeah, well, that sounds promising. So lastly, as we kind of focus, when do we anticipate the work at Alpine and CC to be finished, and when do we anticipate the work on Lincoln Street to be done as well?
Sure. So Alpine and CC, we are planning on having that done prior to the start of the school year. We don't want to impact bus traffic. One thing that our clerk's department would want me to say is that that intersection will be passable to traffic for the August primary. So
okay, good.
We have a number of polling places out there, please be assured that we will get people through there as needed on that day. So please do come out and exercise your right to vote. The East Lincoln Street project, that's going to take a little bit longer, but we will be staging it knowing that there are 3 schools that really rely on this corridor. So we're going to get through the bulk of the work here this summer and then make sure that folks can get through to Prairie View, to Netherwood, and to the high school by kind of staging those last pieces of paving and restoration.
Good. Well, it's exciting. I know it's going to be transformative in people's lives here in the village in good ways, and I know that while it's never fun to be inconvenienced, especially if you're on a common route that you take those roads every day, but when it's done in the long run, it's always worth it and always beneficial. So thanks for taking your time today, Lauren, to come and speak with us on this topic that I'm sure is on a lot of people's minds, and we got some good questions and some good answers. So thanks for stopping by.
Well, thanks for having me.
And that's all the time we have for this segment of Let's Talk Oregon. We will see you next time.